So we're going to start working on our Pathfinder project. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to combine shapes and to merge them together and to use two shapes to create an object versus creating like an object out of a bunch of different shapes, a triangle, a square, a rectangle, all those things. So that's what we're going to be doing in this lesson. The first thing I want you to do is open Illustrator. Once you have Illustrator open, we can go right into opening our workspace, so our artboard. So I'm going to click on File, and then I'm going to go to New, and go into my artboard. So you can get to this screen from the other screens, the open screens. Let's see if I can close this. So I'll just do File, New, and then I'm going to go up here to the top. I'm going to click on Print, and I want Legal. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to title it Pathfinder, and I'm going to title it Practice. I'm going to change my units to inches, and remember, if you ever need to change the units, you can always go back to File and Document Setup, or you can click on your ruler, or you can go over to your Properties panel. So lots of places to change the size of your document, and the units of your document. Alright, next thing, color mode. I'm going to change this to RGB because I'm just viewing this on a screen, and I'm going to change my raster effects to 150, and then I'm going to click Create. Oh, I did it wrong. Let's rotate our artboard. So edit artboard, change it to landscape. So again, how I rotated that, I clicked on my properties panel on the right. I went to edit artboards, and I changed it to landscape. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do, I have my properties panel open on the side here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my ellipse tool. So you can hit L on your keyboard, or you can right click on this and click on ellipse tool. And I'm going to drag out a small circle, perfect circle. So remember, to drag out a perfect circle, you can either hold shift, or you wait till you see that cross mark in the middle of your shape. After I do my circle, I'm going to click V on my keyboard, which takes me to my selection tool. And then I'm going to select my circle, and I'm going to change its fill color to to yellow, and I'm going to change the stroke to none. So fill color, yellow,
holds its breath,
and I'm going to change my stroke to none. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my V key on my keyboard, go back to make sure I have my selection tool. I'm going to select my circle, and I'll hold down my Alt key on a PC, my Option key on a Mac, and I'm going to drag down another circle. Alright, I'm going to go over here to View, make sure I have my smart guides on. I do. Alright, for this circle, I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to go change the color to blue. Alright, so I have my first two circles. So my yellow circle's in the background, my blue circle's in the foreground. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my blue circle. I'm going to go over to my properties panel, and I'm going to change the blend mode on this. So we had blend modes in Photoshop, and they're super fun to use because they can give you all kinds of unexpected results. The same goes for Illustrator. So we're going to click opacity, and your blend mode is right here. We're going to click on that drop down, and we're going to change it to multiply. Alright, so now I have yellow, blue, and if you see the middle color is green. Alright, so I'm going to select it by dragging a box across both shapes, and then I'm going to hold down my Alt key, and I'm going to drag one to the right of my first one. Alright, with it still selected, I'm not going to deselect it. I'm going to hold down my Control key and then hit D. Alright, so I want 5 of them on my screen. next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my Pathfinder. So actually, before I open my Pathfinder, I'm going to open my layers. So I'm going to click on my layers on the right hand side here, and right now I only have one layer and I have all these sub layers, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 sub layers. So what I want to do is I want to play with the layers panel a little bit, show you some things. The first thing is how to create a new layer. So I'm going to come down here to the bottom and I'm going to click the plus sign to create a new layer, or I'm going to come up here to the top right in the hamburger menu and click new layer. Alright, we can title it layer 2. If you want to change the color of the layer, you can change the color. I'm going to change this one to magenta and then click OK. Alright, so I'm going to take the first 2 sets of circles and select them. So just click on my screen, I drag a box over them and select them like that. And if you look in my layers, you see the 4 little dots right here. That means that I have those layers selected. So I'm going to move those to my layer 2. So I'm just going to click on this dot at the top. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it up one so it's on my next layer. So now, if you see, the bounding box has changed from blue to pink, unlike these. So this one's still blue, this one's pink. So it's on my layer 2, and I can close layer 1. Alright? So I'm going to do it one more time, create a new layer. I'm going to select the next 2, and I'm going to drag those up to my layer 3. Alright, so now if I turn off my eyeball, toggle my visibility, I can see what layers I have. Alright, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take 2 of these and I'm going to collect them into a new layer. So the nice thing about collecting into a new layer is that it gives it a new name, but it keeps the original layers intact. So I'm going to click layer 1 and layer 2. I held down shift to click them, so clicked on layer 1, held down my shift key, clicked on layer 2, and I'm going to go up to the hamburger menu, left click on it, and I'm going to say collect in new layer. Right, so it now says layer 4, and I'm going to drag that above the other ones. But when I open it, I still have my layer 2 and my layer 1 in it. So I just collected those 2 layers and put them into a new layer. Alright, so I'm going to undo that. I hit Control Z twice to get back. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge 2 layers. So I'm going to click on my layer 1 and layer 2 by holding shift. And then I'm going to go to my hamburger menu and say merge selected. Alright, so now when I merge them, they still kept the original layer name, and when I look inside of it, it has them all as sublayers. It doesn't have them as layers within it, so I don't have those layer names anymore. I just have the original sublayers just all spread out in there. Alright, so I'm going to undo that, and what I'm going to do is I want to change the color of my layer 3 so layer 3 is right here. I'm going to change the color of it. If I didn't, to click on layer 3 to select which ones it is, I can just click on this circle right here. That allows me to see what layer I'm working with. So I'm clicking on layer 3, and what I want to do is go to my hamburger menu, click on options for layer 3, and I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to choose, let's go with a gold color. You can also click right on the color right here and choose a specific color if you had a value in mind. But I'm just going to go with the pre-selected one, the gold, and then I'm going to click OK. And if you notice right here, my layer has changed from gold, and also the bounding box around it has now changed to gold. Alright, so now what I want you to do is let's go to our properties panel, and I'm going to select the first 2 by dragging a box over it. And down here in the properties panels, once you select a shape, 2 shapes, you get this Pathfinder that shows up here. So Pathfinder is also located under your window, so I like to use the one under the window, but you can also use the one under properties. It's the same exact one. It's just it's just not expanded. So to expand it, you just click on these three dots and expand it. Alright? So the other place, Window, Pathfinder, and this way you can float it all around your screen if you like, and keep it up there at the top. You can use either one, the one down here or the one up here, either one. But you have to know how to get to it through the window as well. Alright, so I'm going to combine my shapes. Click on the first one, and if you notice the foreground color, the one that is in front, it takes on the properties of the one that's in front, and it unites them together. So if I look at this in my outline mode, I just see it as one shape as opposed to two circles as the other one. Right? So I'm going to click on the next one, and we're going to click on the next one, which is mine is front, and it takes out the foreground and the utmost layer and subtracts it from the background. Click on the next one. This is intersection, I think. Where's my so intersection, and we're going to click on the next one. Exclude, so it cuts it out the middle, and again it's keeping the foreground on all of these. The color that's in front is the color that's used. And the interesting thing about this is it keeps all the properties. So if I drag this on top of my yellow, you can still see that green show up because it keeps that multiply, that blend mode that we had first established on there. And then the last one, divide, which is really useful. So once you divide something, it still stays as a group, but you have to ungroup it, so you can right click on it and say ungroup to separate it. I'm going to hit Control Z. Or instead of ungrouping it, you can double click on it, and this takes you into isolation mode. I've seen lots of you get stuck in isolation mode, and you can tell it's isolated because it's all grayed out, right? And then you have this back arrow which takes you out of it, but while we're in isolation mode, we can separate our group, and then we can click back out of it to get out of it, or you can hit escape to get out of it. Alright, so that is the initial part of our lecture, and I want to move on to the next part, which is actually working on the Pathfinder worksheet.